I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Good morning and good afternoon. Today's interview, my guest is Iscat. I have Del and Neil with me today. How are you guys?
Well, thank you. Yeah, great. Thanks, Dr. Bones.
So, first off, guys, I did briefly an email you sent me that Iscat is kind of made up of you two, but you two are from two other different bands. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So,
I'm Dan. I'm from a band called Ice Crystals, which is sort of a female-fronted, mostly acoustic, bit sort of folky, poppy, indie type of band. And I'm Neil from Big Fat Cat Ugly Bat, and we're sort of electronic, sampling, all sorts of genres type band. Yeah, anything from Linkin Park to I don't know, dance music. Dance music, yeah, and a little bit of dubstep and all sorts. Yeah.
Well, I've listened to Ice Crystals, but I have not heard any Fat Cat yet. But my next question to you guys is, I believe you put this in the email as well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Iscat is just essentially a combination of Ice Crystals and Fat Cat, right?
Yeah, we've taken probably the worst elements from each band and made a few of something to come up with Iscat. Yeah. But yeah, we sort of started off about 6 months ago, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, seriously, yeah. Yeah, and because we've done a lot of recording together, Neil's helped Ice Crystals pretty much all the way through with recording and getting this beats and things, because we don't have a drummer, so we've used lots of drum loops in the past. And as we've been going, I suppose as we've written more songs, we found that not every song I write for Ice Crystals suits Ice Crystals, so we kind of put it to one side. Neil's had the same with Big Fat Cat, and we started off with all of the kind of rejected songs that weren't going to work in our current groups, trying them out and making them into something new, and just really trying to make music of the different genres and come up with something that's got a little bit of its own identification. Yeah. It helps being best friends as well, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, it's all good, because it doesn't matter if something doesn't work, we're not afraid to say, it's rubbish, let's dump it. But, there's a lot of experimental stuff. I think people are quite like. We seem to the different songs. We've had some sort of country sounding stuff and some very electronic sounding stuff. We had with Love in Arms as well with I forget her name. Billy Ray Martin, yeah. Which was we did like a acoustic cover of one of her dance records. Yeah. And you sent it to her, didn't you? Yeah. She really liked it. Have you heard of her, Dr. Bones? Billy Ray Martin. She was sort of from the 90s.
Sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't nail it on the head right now. So.
No. To be honest, I'll be perfectly honest. I hadn't heard of her until Neil kind of gave me a sample of her voice, and apparently she was a really big kind of European. She's German and very big in Europe. She was number one sort of all over Europe with a song called Your Loving Arms, sometime in the mid-90s, but in my ignorance I'd kind of missed that in the 90s. I was probably listening to grunge and all sorts of stuff back then, so I missed it. But Neil played me he got a sample of just her vocal, no music at all to it, and it sounded lovely, so kind of strung a few chords together on an acoustic guitar, came up with her own cover, completely blind of what the original tune was sounded like, and we sent it to her. And that was our first real project, wasn't it, as well? Yeah, and she liked it, but she didn't want us to put it out. Certainly didn't want us to give it away or sell it or anything because of copyright. But she let us put it on SoundCloud, so it's there for people who want to listen to it, but it's not available as a download or anything, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, you gotta respect that, right? So, I mean, at least it's available for people to listen to. And admittedly, in the 90s, I was listening to grunge and all that stuff too, because the grunge era was pretty much my high school days. So
yeah,
That's what I was listening to, so that's probably why I probably missed her as well.
Yeah, no, it was really sort of like Euro poppy, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the original was. Yeah, when I heard the original, honestly, I didn't like it much because it was very Euro pop. But I mean, you know,
but it sounds really good. The track you did,
the woman's voice was brilliant. Yeah. And yeah, so we started off, I guess, doing that. We did another, one of our second songs. We used samples. I mean, Neil's got sort of CDs upon CDs of different vocal samples and instrument samples that are actually copyright free, so you can use them. We built up a song with some female vocal. I mean, the words make no sense whatsoever.
It kind of works,
but it has a really pretty melody.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
Out of my mind.
Yeah, out of my mind. And then after that, I think I just got the confidence to sing. So File Underwater and everything since then. I've been doing the vocals on, and you know, if it gets that bad, Neil puts a telephone effect on it. So things up. We haven't quite stick to auto tune yet, but we do a few different sort of vocal tricks and different bits and pieces to embellish the sound.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys been our best friends, have been friends for a long time, it must make things like you said earlier a lot easier. But are there any times where you kind of say, you know what, I like this idea, and the other one's kind of like, it's not so great, but you still kind of push, say, you know what, you should really give this a chance. Let's try putting a different spin on it.
I think so, but then you might say, like, all right, then I'll take that to the Iscat, ice crystals, or I might keep it for a big back cat, ugly back.
I think that's probably the easy compromise. As Neil says, if there's something that it's not usually because we don't like it. It might be because we don't quite know what to do with it. Like Neil might come up with something electronic, and he'll want a guitar solo, or he'll want a guitar part, and I just can't work out how to blend the guitar in with the electronic stuff that's going on, or the other way around.
Yeah.
You know, there's been times we've done something purely in the guitar, and I've said, well, what's a dubstep break here? And you know, Neil said, no, it doesn't. Just leave it alone.
No, especially with Angel, I think was that was beautiful song, and they didn't need no electronic music behind it.
No, just a bit of polish on the drums.
Just a bit of polish,
and all that. And Neil's, you know, with the all of the mixing and the mastering and everything, that's very much, I'll leave that to Neil. That's his department. I'll write the songs and the lyrics and things like that. But when it comes down to, you know, anything past recording it, it's over to Neil really to sort it out.
I was just about to ask about that. So, question answered. And Neil, you do all the mastering and mixing. So now, Neil, that being said, is your background more of electronic background as opposed to called I would say generic kind of rock pop, or do you have a good mix of both?
No, with electronic music, really, I've been doing it now for about 12, 13 years, and and just sort of like mucking around with different keyboards and MIDI systems and different virtual instruments and all sorts. Yeah, so
he's a bit of a geek when it comes to reading. The kids software magazine. I'm completely opposite. I'll just grab an acoustic guitar and, you know, I'm more of a busker really. So it's almost a clash of styles, but a respect for each other's style, and a kind of ultimate desire to like, well, you know, I can do this on the guitar, but how can we make it sound like Linkin Park or something else that's, you know, a little bit more electronic?
That's right,
make it into a proper song.
I just think, you know, with Dell's such a good guitarist, and you'll hear it through the tracks. It's just an honour to work with you. I mean that. Oh, that's, you know.
Yeah, we'll pay you later.
Yeah. So
so much as well, you know.
Now, my next question would be: is since both of you have like respective other bands, does it ever get maybe not confusing, but does it ever do you ever find yourself when you're doing an Iscat song like thinking of like Ice Crystals or Fat Cat? Because I know you said a lot of times the music comes from like the other bands kind of cutting on the floor, but does that ever kind of give you a little bit of confusion when we start jamming, saying like, no, this is too much like Ice Crystals, so we got to turn around this way to make it more Iscat?
I get that sometimes. There are occasions, I think, where I'll start singing a chorus and think, hang on, I've either done it before or I've done something a bit too close to it. It's very often with lyrics, I'll think, I've used that word, in another song. What's another word for whatever it is? And, just get the thesaurus out or something. That's like, right. And then there's other times I think, you know what, it doesn't really matter. No. And just stick with what, the heart's kind of singing and just go with it. But there are times I think where songs will start out one way. For example, we started working on a song at the moment that, to me, Neil played me a song by a band called The Jam. Do you remember them?
Yes, actually I do.
Yeah, sort of a mod on the edge of modern punk, that sort of thing back in the 80s. And we started listening to it. It was more for the bass line than anything else.
Sound called Malice.
So I've come up with a new tune that's got that bit of bass line, but in my head, I'm thinking this could go in a kind of a Motown direction if we want it to. But I know by the time Neil gets the electronic stuff in, it could go anywhere. It could end up sounding like Nirvana or anything else. But to me, it doesn't matter. If we end up with a nice song at the end of it, then we're happy. It doesn't really matter what the influence is that kind of started it off. It doesn't necessarily have to sound like that band by the time we finish recording it.
We have got a virtual member as well, haven't we? With Skinny Pete, the drummer.
Oh, your drum songs are brilliant.
Yeah, virtual drummer. He's fantastic.
It is. If only we didn't have to keep copying and pasting loops.
No, but that's such a good way to approach it. Of literally saying, let's kind of play with it and go with it and see what happens from it, because it gives you a lot more freedom. We'll say, to kind of mess around a little bit, because after Neil, you've maybe mastered the track or come close to mastering it, you guys might be able to listen to it again and say, that's really cool, but maybe we'll try to throw in this now, or maybe take this out and then try it over again one more time.
You're definitely right there. Sometimes I'll record lots of different little lead guitar parts. The last song we just uploaded last night, a song called Breathe. It's mostly an electronic song, but
probably the more famous one, isn't it?
Yeah,
song Breathe,
probably is. Yeah, we've got a couple of really electronic ones. The instrumental one, which came out.
That was
one of our first, wasn't it? Yeah. And then Breathe, which we released last night.
They're the two main electronic music.
Yeah, I found with both of those, I've recorded a few different options for Neil on electric guitar and on bass guitar, and just sort of left him to kind of slot the pieces in. And it's been nice almost to kind of unveil a new song. It's been a bit of a surprise as the different clips get put to the electronic stuff. It's good how the song develops into something else.
It's a different structure of electronic music.
Definitely. Yeah. You couldn't just do it on an acoustic guitar and play the song from start to finish. No. You've got to be very patient and build the blocks up.
Well, it works. I enjoy the way you guys do that, because just in general, that's what kind of got me hooked to Iscat right away. It's just the diversity between songs, because each song is relatively different from the last one as far as arrangement goes, and different we'll call it inputs and outputs as far as music goes, electronic guitar, that sort of thing. So it makes it interesting, because it's one of those times where you can listen to one song and then listen to the next song. Let's say listen to one and then you listen to Angel, and then at first he may not be sure it's still Iscat. Then you hear a little kind of almost little kind of tip off. It's well, it is Iscat, but it's still cool, because it's almost like a completely different song altogether. Well, it is a completely different song, but a completely different band altogether. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of my biggest influences is REM, and although a lot of REM songs you can kind of hear the jangling guitar and the Michael Stark vocal, if you've got as many REM albums as I have, you'll notice they do different styles. They'll throw in a country song, they'll throw in a metal song every now and again, and there'll be different aspects to what they can do, but still be the same band, and I guess they're still true to their original sound.
Absolutely. And speaking of REM, I saw this in the other day, and can't remember whether it's Green or Document, but they're supposed to re-release for I think it's 20th anniversary, and some extras on the CD as well. I think it might be Document though. I'll have to double check that, but I grew up on REM too, so that's pretty much my era. You know, I was a teenager in the early '90s, and so in the beginning of the '80s is when they started coming out. And I think probably the first REM song I heard was Superman.
Yes, yeah, that was Light Switch Pageant album, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, I love the way that they can write something really serious like Everybody Hurts, but then they can do something really off the wall like, you know, End of the World as We Know It, and Stand and things like that, and just have a laugh and just make music for fun, as well as having a message.
That's absolutely right. You know, and they are a fun band that way. And just one more thing about them, then we'll move on because we're kind of sidetracking here, and this show's about you guys and about REM. But real quick is the song "Shining Happy People," and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the one of the singers from the B-52s does a song with them. And initially, people took it as, "Oh, this is such a happy song," and then Michael Stipe said, "Actually, not really." Even though it sounds happy, it really kind of isn't, because "Shining Happy People" is almost putting a downspin on the people who kind of sense, I will say, fake their way through life. So it's not essentially a happy song. It's more of a kind of downtrodden, but just because of the music and the beat, it sounds like, oh, like, you know, happy shining people, yay.
Right. It's funny you should mention that one, because we're working actually on a collaboration, although we're a collaboration ourselves. We're doing a song, we're doing a collab with another band, I think you know them very well as well, called the Mad Andersons.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and we managed to get Nolan and Catherine from the Mad Andersons playing cowbell and recording hand claps and doing the whole Shiny Happy People kind of rhythm section for us. We've also we're waiting for Catherine to do the piano parts for that and lead vocal as well. And we're coming up with something I think it's going to be really quite special. Not quite sure when it will be ready, maybe about a month's time by the time we've got all the parts down, but it'll be a song called Polaris.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that, because I've played Mad Anderson a few times. They've sent me some really good singles, and the last one I did was about 2 weeks ago. Was "Whistling in the Dark."
Oh, it's a great song, yeah.
And a big fan, so I'll be excited to hear that. So we're gonna take a quick little break here, and we're gonna listen to One. This is One by Iscat. Dig this.
The shipping forecast issued by the Met Office at 0130 on Friday, the 20th of November. There are warnings of gales in all areas except Trafalgar.
All right, that was one by Iscat. Now, this, out of all the tunes you sent me, is probably one of my favorites, just because Del, I love that solo hook, and then what really stands out. And Neil, man, you've done wonders with the song. Like it just blends and flows so well, and it's kind of got that, excuse me, kind of up and down, but it's kind of got almost like somewhat of a grunge tinge to it. But it's just one of those things. It's one of those ones that just easy to listen to, and it's especially that solo Del. That's one that kind of sticks out and sticks in your gets stuck in your head, and not in a bad way either.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think you're right with the grunge thing. There's something that we put together. It's kind of going on underneath with the rhythm guitar and the bass guitar, and it is quite dark. There's a bit of almost Nirvana-y rhythm guitar going on underneath the kind of smooth synth and everything in that song. But yeah, it is a nice one. We're quite proud of that one. Yeah. There's a nice video for that on YouTube as well, isn't there? Yeah. We'll perhaps have to send you a link on Twitter or something of the YouTube. It's just a bit of animation, but
From the Animatrix, isn't it?
that was it. Yeah. But
It works so well with it.
it does work well. What worked less well? We tried to do a proper collaboration with Ice Crystals on one, and we had got a version of that on the Ice Crystals Reverb Nation and SoundCloud. The girls put some vocals down to it, and I mean they did a really good job with it. But it just didn't bed in with the song quite how we wanted it to.
No, I think from the samples singer and some
trying to marry the voices and all the sounds together.
Quite well.
So as an instrumental, I think that's more of a complete track as the one that you just played.
Now, do you guys or have you ever thought about taking Iscat like on the road, or maybe doing like a double show? So like saying like do it, say, I don't know, do Iscat, Ice Crystals, or Iscat and Fat Cat. Is that ever kind of been a possibility, or is it going to be a possibility at some point?
It's not something we've tried or thought too much about. I mean, Ice Crystals, the other members of Ice Crystals don't particularly want to be playing live, so that's a bit of a dead end at the moment. I'd quite happily get up and play guitar in front of anybody.
Many times.
But I mean,
I think with us, it would be more like a backing track, wouldn't it? That would turn into you with a guitar and then a backing track.
Everything else on the computer. So. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that would look as a gig, really. Well, never say never. Never. But I think at the moment we're quite happy, kind of writing music, recording it, getting it out there, getting as many people to listen to it on radio and through sort of our SoundCloud and Reverb Nation site. Yeah. And just having fun with it. There's certainly less pressure to it, and if it makes a few people happy, then so be it. It's good.
Well, and that's a good point, because I mean it's doing electronic music live can be challenging, especially since kind of keep it interesting and moving around, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. I mean, I've never done it, but I know from bands I've talked to and just stuff I've seen that it's obviously not an easy thing to do. But if it comes down to it, it'd be really cool. But if not, like, we understand it's not the easiest task in the world to do, just because there's so much involved, and and some people don't realize that some people are under the impression that pretty much any band should be able to go from studio and go live, which is not necessarily the case. And if people know their music at all, they can jump back and think, well, look at some of the studio albums that have been done like way in the past, or even closer to now, that some of them never really hit the road just because of all the stuff in them. And one album being Sgt. Pepper's.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that was an awesome album, but it was more of a studio album than one they were going to take on the road, because there was only like maybe a few songs they could get away with playing live, but the rest were just too, we'll call it studio-wise. I know that's not really a word, but it's the best way I can put it. And even moving up to the 90s, like some Radiohead albums like Amnesiac and Kid A, and there's only a few songs off of those albums that they could play live, just because of all the computer workings and all the extras and addeds that were in it. And so, either way, the good music coming out, and that's the important thing. A band does not necessarily need to go on tour to promote good music. I mean, all people gotta do is be patient and look around for it, and they'll come upon some great stuff without even realizing it.
No, you're definitely right. And I think with the Iscat one, there's some of the songs that carry themselves as a song just sort of on guitar and vocal that, okay, they won't sound exactly like the recorded version because they haven't got any electronic stuff, they've got no drum beat, and there's lots of things missing, but there's certain ones that carry okay from beginning to end as a whole song, and then there's others that I couldn't even imagine how to begin playing. Like Breathe, the latest one, for example, has got so little guitar on there, it just wouldn't be worth trying to sort of bust that one. And Fire Underwater again has got so many overlaid guitar parts, and I use a device called an Evo quite a lot on a lot of the kind of rockier songs, and it just gives that kind of controlled feedback sound that runs through. It's often quite low in the mix, but it's there again, and without it, you know, that can be carrying quite a lot of the melody, yeah.
Anyway, that sounds... Anyway,
it's all right, yeah. Bust that one out. Yeah.
Well, you know what, and it's good for me too, mainly because obviously I'm on the other side of the pond, so I mean, I would like to make my way over to the UK eventually, but at this point in time, it's nice for me to actually be able to hear the music and say, you know what, even though I can't see them live, at least I got the music, and it's just great, just because it just, you know, there's so much coming out and so much to go over and talk about, so it's nice in that way too. So I mean, I like at least having the one side. I mean, you can't always have your cake and eat it too, cliche, but you know. But the same instance is like I enjoy hearing the new music, and that's what matters to me more than anything.
No, yeah, I think with the internet as well, it opens up so many doors and so many lines of with other artists around the world. I mean, Neil talks to other electronic artists like Epilux over in Spain. I'm in contact with people like the Darling Serpents in America, Leona's sister in Canada, Cooper in Canada. There's all sorts of people everywhere that are always ready to give you a bit of advice, or even just a bit of encouragement. If I like what you're doing, and just say, keep it up. So hopefully we do the same to other artists and give them that sort of support as well.
And that's what's nice about this sort of thing in general is people, like I've said this before, because there's been a lot of bands who've actually connected afterwards because of the interview or because of the songs they've played on New Music Saturday. So it's nice to see all this music being kind of traded and worked on and being given helpful hints, like literally from around the world. Because obviously you're right, you have Leona's sister who's actually in Ontario, and their home base is roughly around Niagara, which is about 3 hours away from me, so it's actually relatively close. And then you got Darling Serpents in the US, which is another cool band who I played a few times as well. And it's nice to see connect like that, because you never know what you're going to find, and you never know what kind of, let's say, good advice or even mixing you guys can do together, because of all the technology, it can be done relatively easily by email back and forth, right? So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even things like graphic equalizer settings. I had no idea. I didn't even know what the graphic equalizer did, to be honest, on the recording system. But I think that was through talking to Nolan from the Mad Andersons. He just gave me some helpful numbers for the graphic equalizer, and suddenly, like, the vocals sounded a bit kind of thicker and better in the mix. And it's just great, a quick message on Facebook or a quick email from some of them, and you've got that instant technical support.
Oh, that's right, and it's a lot easier than Googling everything, right? So.
Definitely, because there's some people that are quite technical. Neil's more of the technical side, and most of it just goes completely over my head. I can jam along to things, but I don't want to know too many sort of words and numbers.
I'm the exact same way. I mean, I try to learn as much as possible about the music, but there's some stuff that's still kind of over my head. And there are some programs out there that are just they're very good programs, but it's one of those things where it's Google, that sort of thing, really is going to help you. You have to go by trial and error, because these the reason why these programs are so good is because they're so complex. Once you figure it out, it's a huge feat, but it might take you a while to get there just because of the inner workings of it. And some stuff like that you got to play around with a little bit first in order to make it work. That's why for you guys in general, like for the sort of band that Iscat is, it's a lot more difficult just to kind of fit those things in and work them the way you want them, because there's so much to play with, and being able to arrange it and orchestrate the way you want is just a feat in itself.
Yeah, it's. I think going from like completely acoustic instruments like acoustic 12-string guitar quite often, and even sort of having sort of hand claps and cowbells and things like that, very acoustic percussion, mixing with electronic drum and synths.
Yeah, it's so much fun,
and actually trying to make it sound like, there might have been a whole band on stage playing that. In fact, it wasn't, but that's our secret between us and your listeners.
I think we keep it simple as well. We don't put too many filters on, we don't put too many plugins in, and I think that's what keeps it.
Yeah, definitely. You completely lost me, but
Well, we're actually we're going to take a little break here. We're going to key this up for you guys because you guys have agreed to play your song anyway. So you want to tell us a little bit before you guys start jamming it?
Anyway, was written just over a year ago. Originally written for Ice Crystals, and it kind of got rejected pretty much straight away. I don't think it was ever going to sort of suit the female vocals particularly. We put it to one side, and we just kind of brought it out just after Christmas, didn't we?
Yeah, it's such a shame to leave it, to collect dust.
Yeah. I can't remember who influenced all of the drum patterns and all of that. There's lots of white noise going on the original track.
That's right,
Deliberate white noise.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Was that?
I can't remember now.
It sounded good to me.
Yeah.
It's a simple little song. Lyrically, it kind of...
Is it the Greenpeace one, kind of?
Yeah,
the Greenpeace video kind of thing.
Yeah, you did a really nice kind of Save the Whale type of black and white video for it, which is on YouTube and probably all over our sites at the moment. But originally it had nothing to do with Greenpeace. It was playing, getting our music played on the radio.
Yeah.
No.
It fits, so we jammed it in.
It kind of fitted. So it was one of those fairly upbeat ones, but slightly hollow nonetheless.
Yeah, and this is very catchy as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
I like it.
You catchy hooks.
Yeah.
Oh, right on, man. So if you guys are ready, take it away.
Okay, all right. This is Anyway. We're gonna go anywhere you hear us. We're gonna go every single day. Anytime we play, any side of the ocean, we gotta feel so nice inside your head. Hey. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter. Any year, long quicker day. Better believe it all. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter than this, and we'll get there anyway. Well, we're gonna go where destiny may take us. We're gonna go. Gotta make our name anytime we play, any side of the ocean, chillin' Iscat, something for your fans. Hey. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter. Any year, long week a day. Hey, you better believe it all. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter than this, and we'll get there anyway. And everything we say now, and everything we say now, we get scrutinized and criticized and plagiarized before our eyes. We know now, we have got the know-how. And rise again, and rise again, and run again. You'll always again. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter. And if you ever week a day, can't believe it all. Anyway, we know the future's bright, the future's brighter than me. And we'll get there anyway. You better believe it all. We believe. You better believe it all. We believe. You better believe it all. We believe. There you go.
Right on. That was awesome. Nice. Thank you so much for doing that.
Pleasure. That's good fun. Thank you.
Awesome, because this doesn't happen too often. So when the bands agree to it, it's always nice to hear. And a lot of times it's voluntary. So it's happened about 2 or 3 times, but that's awesome. I love hearing a live song like that. So thank you very, very much. I do very much appreciate it.
Oh no, that's always a pleasure. And if you ever want us back to do another one, love to.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. I can guarantee you that for sure.
Thank you. Cool.
So next question, kind of stemming off from that, and since we are using a form of it, how has the social media worked for you? So let's, are you like SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing?
All of the above, yeah.
Yeah, it all works in. I think that a lot of it can be quite time consuming, and the more you do on it, the more you get back, but then again it becomes quite perpetual as well. So if you send out a lot of tweets, you get a lot of tweets back, and you feel like you've got to keep replying to them. So,
but you're really good at it now, I must admit.
It's just been kind of polite and responsible with what you've been. If people are good enough to send you a message, I think you owe it to them to kind of get online and say thank you, or just give them some sort of response back again. But definitely, there are a lot of good songs out there, aren't there?
We've only had one incident. Well, I have, haven't I, with that lady, but where the song Deluded come from.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
Neil has done a new song with Big Fat Cat.
That's right, yeah.
I forget which one it was called now. Whichever, we'll remember it one time. But Neil had done a song. He sent it out to a whole bunch of different artists, mainly, to say, here's my new song, what do you think of it? And this one particular lady in Scotland, I think she was, got hold of it, and she went into a complete rant on Facebook, I think it was, saying, that Neil had completely stolen her ideas. The lyrics and the tune were completely different, but he'd stolen her ideas.
It was not the song, was it the idea?
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on a minute.
Whatever it was, we listened to every one of her songs, so she got loads of extra plays. We couldn't fathom out really what she was going on about.
At all, could we? It's just the idea of
something to do with having a voiceover, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
But then again, most of your songs have voiceovers somewhere, or sample clips. But, it was good inspiration for us, though. We ended up writing a song called Deluded, which I think we probably sent it to you. Which, I don't know, it was just a little way of kind of having to go back.
Yeah.
It's quite a song.
Oh, you wrote it really well, Dale. That was really funny.
There's some sort of religious satire in it. Satire in there. Yeah. When the woman was kind of going on about Jesus, how you will be judged for stealing these ideas.
She's very Christian, isn't she? It's not a bad thing, but
no, each to their own. But don't use it to win an argument.
No. And then condemn the other person to hell. I suppose there's always a downside to Twitter and any of the social media. With some people, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. No, that's right.
Oh, very true.
It could have. I don't know who sent me one of these sort of hashtag FF tweets that, like nearly everybody does on a Friday, I think they come out where you get the hashtag MMs. I got one of them with like Iscat and a whole bunch of other band names in it, and just followed everybody that was on the list because somebody told me to. So I followed it.
Are you obeyed?
Yeah, I obeyed. And I replied back, we followed all. And this band that was on the list replied back just to Iscat saying that was a bit of a douchebag thing to do. What?
What?
But, you know, it obviously displeased them that we followed them and everybody else on the list. But social media,
That's the little bit of downside, isn't it?
yeah, most people
are so nice.
are nice. Yeah, if people use it right, it can be a really good thing. But now and again, people want to use it to start an argument or just abuse somebody. Then it's bad.
Well, and I tend to agree with that. I mean, I use it quite frequently, but I'm not on there to knock anybody down. And for myself personally, the FFs, the follows they put out, it doesn't necessarily mean people have to follow them. It's just more or less a suggestion. If you like them, cool. If not, it's not a big deal. Like these, because that's what people should take it as. It's just more of a suggestion than an actual saying, no, you got to do this. Follow all these people.
Yeah, it's almost an acknowledgement to sort of some people that think, I'll give them a shout out, I'll give them a mention. And I think we all do that to a greater or lesser degree.
Yeah, just on reverberation.
A way to stay in touch. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, reverberation. Some people hate reverberation. We quite like it, don't we?
Yeah.
Kind of ignore the charts. That seems a bit manufactured. But it's a nice platform to kind of sit some of your music on there.
Yeah.
And it links really well because we don't have a website yet. So we use ReverbNation as that kind of central hub. So if somebody finds us there, they can find a SoundCloud, they can find a YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
They can, if they want to talk to us, they can do quite easily. And we'll try and look at kind of all of the sites, at least a couple of times a week, and so messages don't get too far behind.
Well, that's right. I mean, and sometimes you don't have time for it all because there's just so much going on. I mean, and especially when you're doing a band, excuse me, there's so much other going on. So we try as much as possible to keep in touch with people on Twitter, that sort of thing. But it's not always possible. I mean, there are many times where I'm way too busy to go on Twitter for more than, like, if it's, say, a few seconds to say posts like, this is coming up, or I just found this. But even Fall Fridays, I seem to be doing every other Friday now, just because, like, a lot of times I don't have the time because I usually have a very long work day on Fridays, so I don't always have the chance. And realistically, I can't put every single one on there because of all the people I'm following being followed me, and there'd be way too many. It'd be like a 1,000,001 tweets to try to get all the bands in, just because there's so many. So, and like I said, I try to do what I can and promote all of them, but I can't always do it all at once. So I kind of try to do it subtly, a little bit by little bit, just to keep people interested and saying, no, you can check this out, but it's a suggestion. You don't need to.
No, you probably don't need to do that. People aren't necessarily expecting, a Follow Friday from everybody that they know on Twitter. They'd never get on Twitter if that was the case.
Well, exactly.
I think it's just if you've got that kind of attitude, that kind of a good persona and a good attitude on any of the social media, if you're just sort of friendly, upbeat, positive, even if fans send you a song and you think, I really hate it, don't, for goodness sake, don't say that.
Yeah.
Better to say nothing, or find something positive to say about it. I guess we're all guilty of sending our music around, and somebody will listen to an Iscat song and go, God, that totally sucks, but that's all right. I think if everybody's attitude is still positive, and if people want to tell us they didn't like it, but we get that sometimes when they didn't like the song but they like the video, or they like the video, and they like the song but they didn't like the video. That's all good. It's nice to get that feedback sometimes, and you can ask people for a little bit more input, really. And then you think, don't necessarily take it all on board, but you're conscious of what might annoy people or what people do actually like.
It's nice that people bother, isn't it?
Definitely,
whether they like it or dislike it. It's
absolutely
nice to get any response.
That's sad, aren't we?
So we like it. Please do say. As long as you don't condemn me to hell.
That's it, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're pretty much out of time here, and I want to thank you so much for coming on and doing this. This was definitely a lot of fun, and definitely love to have you back on again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Bones.
Not a problem. So this has been Iscat with Neil and Del. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. We'll talk next time. Bones out.